Hello, everyone. I'm happy that you're here today. This is absolutely fantastic. And listen, yeah, so I'm live. Good. Yeah, got it. So hello, everyone, and welcome to EB Speaks. I am your host, Ibinabo and Nebi. And again, this is another very exciting episode. And just in case you're watching us for the first time, I have been doing a series on relocation that I call the Jakba series. And on this series, I am highlighting the underbelly of migrating. I've had 4 episodes so far, and you can check them out on my YouTube channel, Ibinabo NAB. I'll just check quickly so that I give you the right titles. So I have EB Speaks episode 43, sorry, episodes 73, 74, 75, and 76. Yeah, 75, yeah, and 76. And we talked about, so the first episode was about what you must consider before you embark on the journey. We talked about how to grow or look after or bring up a wholesome or well-balanced migrant child. If you're thinking about relocating with your children, you've got to see that episode. We talked about how to succeed as a migrant professional. And last week we talked about young people sharing the migrant stories into becoming successful young migrants. And my children, 3 of my daughters, from ages 26 to 13 shared their stories. And today I want to talk about another very exciting topic, and that is how to succeed as a family unit. And for this one, it's particularly important for couples who are considering relocating, and for couples who are considering the option of one spouse leaving or staying behind in their home country and another spouse deciding to relocate with the children. And we're also looking at how to succeed as a migrant, as a single parent living alone with your children. And to do justice to this conversation are 3 fantastic and brilliant people. I have Mr. Joseph Damola from Ireland. Mr. Joseph, thank you for coming on AB Speaks. Yeah, I have to, I have Agogo Oteju from Canada. And I have Laura Cyprian Equency from the United States of America. Laura, are you there?
I'm here.
Fantastic. So listen, you can be a part of this conversation by leaving your comments on the comment box. If you're watching via YouTube, if you're watching via Facebook, if you're watching via LinkedIn. And I will be sure, and of course, my guests will be sure to answer all your questions. And guys, I'm very happy that you're here today. So thank you very much. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, it's Ibinabo NAB. And you can follow me on my social media handles, Ibinabo NAB, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook profile and page, and what else? TikTok. So thank you very much for joining us today. So before we go into the conversation or delve into the conversation proper, I would like you to introduce yourselves and tell us what you do. So I'll start with Mr. Joe. Mr. Joe?
Hi everyone. Okay, I'm good. I'm Joseph, and I do quite a lot of things. I'm the CEO of Supreme Courts International. Now, Supreme Courts International is a company that's founded in Nigeria. What we do basically is actually we set up a music band, music strand for people, for events and every other thing, like that. I'm also a business strategist, and I manage several companies here in Ireland. Then finally, I'm a management consultant. That's what I do basically. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Ogogo?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ogogo Oteju. I'm a mom of two. Currently working at a company called CarStar. I'm the marketing manager for CarStar Canada. Been in Canada for close to 6 years now. So far, it's been a ride, but honestly, I wouldn't have chosen anywhere better than where I am right now. And I think that's about it. On the side, I do balloon decorations for kids' parties. So that's just like a pet project that I do. Mainly started from decorating my kids' parties, and then I started decorating my friends' kids' parties. But my main job is being a marketing manager for CarStar Canada.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Laura? Is Laura there? Okay. When she comes, she comes. So we're having this conversation about relocating abroad and how to succeed as a migrant family, as a family unit. And when I mean the family unit, I'm very particular as to using that word, the family unit. And Ogogo, can you give us a brief history about your relocation journey to Canada and why you decided that you wanted to relocate?
Okay, sure, AB. So it actually started out from my husband. He was the one that really wanted to move to Canada. I would say I wasn't even thinking about it. I had just finished my master's and moved back to Nigeria. And the idea of relocating again was not something that I wanted to entertain. So I said, okay, you know what? Everyone's like, processing their applications to, move abroad. And so I thought that it would take a very long time. So I agreed to it. I was like, whenever it comes, then we will figure it out then. Little did I know that it was going to come so soon. And so it came, actually what happened was we had, so Canada has this thing where you do your medicals, and then they want you to come to the country within that year so that they can ensure that your medical status is the same as what you submitted. So it just happened to be that we got our letter saying you have to move to Canada next week. It was that insane. Yes. So it was a shock. It was something that I couldn't even really think through. I was like, okay, you know what, it's go. Let's make this happen. And then, we, got our families involved. They helped us to pack, sell some of our things. And within a week, we were out of Nigeria. So it wasn't like I had any time to think through it. I was like, I didn't know it was going to come like this, but this is God's plan. And, found ourselves in Canada. But what I would say that has really, really helped my journey is actually moving here with the mindset that I'm not, going back. I didn't think that, okay, I'm going to go survey Canada and see how the land is and then make a decision. I immediately accepted that this is what it is. We are moving to Canada. And my husband, it took him a little bit of a while to get into the same space that I was, but it wasn't too long. So it was very easy for us to fully settle in Canada.
Fantastic, Ogogo. You've said something that is very important, but I'm going to come back to that. And Joe, what was your relocation story?
Yeah, thank you. My relocation story is quite different from Ogogo's anyway. So at some point, I wanted a change of environment. Now, my wife was in Ireland already. She's been there, and I was in Nigeria. I was doing my thing. And you see, I just said, okay, it's time to actually move because I needed an expansion, just generally within a lot of things. And yeah, I just planned it and I came over. It was strange. It was different. I was like, oh, is this how it is? Things were different compared to where I was coming from. Your home country, there are a lot of things you have access to. Getting to Ireland, it was totally a different ball game. I started to just, find myself in the system, get to know how things are done here and all that. Yeah, I got married in Ireland anyways. So little by little, it was a bit stressful to actually connect into the different environment. I couldn't, we're talking of weather, we're talking of working, we're talking of, just getting to understand. And at some points I was stressed out. When you just came in, you don't know most things, you have to. So, but yeah, after a period of time, I get to understand, okay, then I've been fine since then. I would say this is 6 years now in Ireland, and it's been good.
Fantastic. And you've said some things as well that, again, resonates with me. You said it was different. And but eventually you connected. So I have nuggets of questions to ask you, even from that statement that you made. And we're going to tie it in as to why it's important that migrant families remain a unit. Yeah, very good. And Laura.
Yes, I'm here.
So would you mind telling us about your migrant story?
Sure. I apologize. I was having a bit of technical challenge earlier,
Okay.
but my story is a little bit different. It's a lot different. And I believe like a lot of women also find themselves in my situation. I came to the United States to study right after high school. And then after I had graduated, I went back to Nigeria to, get married. I fell in love. And after years of being in Nigeria, my marriage basically fell apart. So I decided to come back with my kids to a terrain that I was familiar with. So I had come out from high school. I was more familiar with how, America functions because I had gone to college here. So it was easier for me to transition here, to move back here, because it was, like I said, an environment I was familiar with. But it, of course, it had other challenges because now I came back with kids. I was a single parent. So it was, so I had to readjust again. So that's basically my story.
Fantastic. So we're going to talk about how it is to succeed as a single parent in the United States of America, because it will be unfair to say to women or to men who are single parents that you can't come if you're a single parent, because even just from what Joseph have said and from what Ogogo have said, both of you are married and you're with your spouses. It was difficult, even for one person. But Laura, you made it. So we're going to talk about how you made it. So I want to talk about this whole, so let's paint a picture, right? So I want to talk about this whole idea that some people are considering relocating. As a couple, as a husband and a wife wanting to relocate, what are the first questions that you ask yourself? I'll start with Ogogo.
Okay. So as a husband and as a couple, the first question you ask yourself when you're moving, right? When you're considering relocating?
Yeah, yes. What are the first questions that you ask yourself?
Okay, so it's I would say for us, it was like, where are we going to stay? Which province? So we looked at that, like, do we want to stay in Ontario? We are currently in Ontario, and we actually had planned to stay in a different province. We kind of looked at like, okay, Ontario is very competitive. It might take a while for us to settle, to get a job, because everyone pretty much moves to Ontario. So we had considered going to British Columbia. The other side was like, okay, British Columbia housing is expensive, but it'd be much easier to get a job. So that was our plan, until we got that shock, like, oh, you're moving, we have to move in a week. And so we kind of like, we panicked a little bit. And for us, like, what would have made that settling easy was to ensure that we knew somebody where we were going to. So it was like, who do we even know in British Columbia that we're planning to go there? And we didn't know anybody. We're like, okay, let's go to Ontario, where at least we can connect with the Nigerian community instantly and settle, and then we can decide if we want to remain in Ontario. So I think that was the best decision that we made, because on the spot, like from when we arrived. My husband had a friend who helped us, when we were looking for a place to settle down. We immediately connected with a Nigerian church. I think that made that relocation much easier. It was so comforting. Like the first Sunday, I still remember it very well. It was very comforting going to the Redeemed Church in Ontario and seeing that many Nigerians. I was like, okay, fine. We will make, like, we will get there soon.
We'll be fine. We will be fine.
We'll be fine. Yes, we just got there. You know how it is when you go to a Nigerian church, you're like, okay, we'll be fine. We have all these Nigerians that can help us out.
Like the Nigerian food as well.
Exactly. So I think that was like our main thing. The main thing that we considered when we were coming was like where to stay, and there was nothing. We didn't really talk about like, okay, what job are we going to do? Which, in hindsight, we should have, but we weren't thinking that way. We were like just focused on, where can we quickly settle, and that was like our guide. Okay.
And Mr. Joseph, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I do. You see, while Ogogo was talking, I just, within my head, I just imagined that there can be different kind of people with different ideas of, okay, probably you just had your visa now. For some people, the joy is just clouding their head and they don't know what to do. They just want to go. They just want to go. You find you still even talked about where you will stay. Some are not even, let's just go, whatever. But yeah, you see, the bottom line of everything is, I'll just say information is key.
Yeah.
You don't want to be relocating. Okay, let me use where I am now. I know the island very well. You don't want to be relocating from any part of the world and you want to just go and live in Dublin, for example. You get?
Yeah.
I would say you will choke yourself.
In what way?
Okay, good. There are thousands of counties you can live in and you can grow gradually. For instance, you're just coming from a country and you relocate to a place like, let me look for a calm place in Ireland. I'd say you relocate to a place like Listowel. I'm sure you don't know where Listowel is.
I've never heard of it before.
Really not.
So Listowel, you relocate to Listowel. Listowel is a very calm, it's a small county, very small, very calm. You have everything you can get there. Things are cheaper. You can get a house. You can rent a house. Though you are close to the bushes and everything. Universities are close. Universities are close to your access.
Which universities? Sorry, we're talking about. Sorry, Joe and I are country. This is our country now. We're talking country gist.
So there's a university called MTU. I think it's a year ago. It was crowned a university. It was formerly an IT something, but it's now a university. Like I said earlier, information is key. You can make research of small counties. I don't know what you guys call it in Canada, or I don't know what it's called in US, but we call them counties here. You can look for a small county, grow. You can grow there. And while you grow in small counties, you can build a connection. You can, so you don't wear yourself out. You see, people come irrespective of the amount of money you come in or you relocate with. Like I remember when I relocated first, I came with some Nigerian naira and I wanted to just spend, and I exchanged the money and I was like, really? This is all you could give me? So you never know. So I'd say, the bottom line, I'll say information, get information, look at where you can start small and grow, and grow wide. So that's what I'll just say about that point anyways.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Joe. And Laura, so if a single parent is, of course, America was home for you. So you
Correct.
knew the ins and outs. But assuming there is a woman who is tired of Nigeria, tired of her home country, and is looking to relocate to the United States as a mother of 3-4 children, or even one child, what should be her considerations?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. Unfortunately, it's almost like a different path for a single parent or for a single parent, a single parent does not have that liberty of that same excitement, that same, you don't have that liberty of having a spouse to talk to. So it's a different feeling. It's a scary time. It's a sad time. It's an uncertain time. So it's really different from a single parent perspective. But what I believe is that for any single parent, the priority when you're trying to relocate is the family unit, the children. So when you're considering, remember, unlike a married couple, most single parents relocating, it's not really a choice. Situation is more of a necessity. It's more of, it's typically not the ideal choice, but it's really what you have to do to survive. So it's really, for a single parent migrating, the considerations are basically the family, the kids, so that's where you have to consider, where is the best place to raise your kids? Where is the best environment? Where do you get maybe the family support? Where do you, where can you function effectively, efficiently? Where is there, if you have smaller kids, is there a daycare around? So it's more of putting the kids' needs first if you want to be successful. So you can't really, you choose the environment that's best suited for raising the kids. Is there a good school system? Is there a good support system that can help you when you're shuttling between work and school and all of that? Is there somebody that can help you pick up the kids? So it's not, we don't have that liberty of choosing, this is the right city. This is you go where you can, you have the best resources on ground to be able to, move your family, move yourself forward.
Thank you, Laura, for that. And I'm going to ask you a lot of questions based off of what you said. Remember, and thank you, because you've just, again, I'm so happy that you're doing this, because I just feel that a lot of times that single mothers do not have enough information to help them. Like you say, they're scampering, wanting to escape for better opportunities for their children. And sometimes you're just thinking, let me just get out of here first. Anything but where I am. But again, you're narrowing now our thinking to specifics. And you're saying that, of course, the single mother doesn't have the luxury of, oh, I just want to go. It's a situation of survival. So you said she has to consider the places that has the best, or the places that have the best resources. So now this lady has never gone to America before. Yeah. So how would she even know that if I go to New York, for example, or if I go to North Carolina or Atlanta or Texas, whatever, that I would have the resources? So what are the questions? Laura, I want us to, assuming there's a single mother watching us, I want us to lead her by the hand to say, these are the kind of questions you want to ask yourself, and these are the places to look out, because already she's overwhelmed.
I don't want to deviate too much from what you're talking about, but because it's a whole different ballgame from a couple relocating as opposed to a single parent relocating. So I would say first, family first. Now, it's a lot as a single parent, family first, but not family dependent. So do I have a sister? Do I have a cousin? Do I have a friend? Do I have somebody that can be somewhat of a support, not to rely on them, but can be there? If that's not possible, then the next consideration, and we're talking about raising children successfully, migrating, keeping the family unit together. So the children are the
priority.
The priority. So now you want to just figure out, and it's based on your budget, it's based on a lot of things. Where is the best neighborhood to raise my children. So that's number one. So you have to do your research. You have to figure out what the school system is like. Thank God for the internet. You can research their ratings for schools, their reviews that other parents leave. So you don't want to go put your kids as a single parent in a problem school that has violence, that has all of that. So it's always good to avoid those kind of things, do your research and make sure you're moving into, the right neighborhood. Sometimes I see people look at houses where they can get the best house. No, that's not the consideration. The consideration is what environment, what neighborhood, what school system can you put your kids in so that they can also thrive and they don't fall victim to, just because you're migrating overseas doesn't mean everything is happy, and you have to also be cautious so that you don't lose your kids in the process. So I would look for the school system, the neighborhood, all of that as consideration as to what town or what city I'm going. So I would look for family first, family support. And family, when I say family, is also extended family. I'm talking, a friend, a relative, somebody that knows someone. So, if you need any kind of support, if you need someone to help you, figure one or two things out, they can help. If that's not present, then the next thing is, again, that neighborhood and the school system. Because that's also very important in those initial stages, especially as a single parent that doesn't have, either a father or mother on the other side to be able to take a second look. So once you can identify those, that I believe makes things, a little bit smoother.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Laura, for that. And thank you very much for the insight. And I want to thank those of you who are watching on Facebook. I can see you. Thank you so much. And those of you watching on LinkedIn as well, thank you very much. And if you have any questions, and for those of us who are watching us here directly on Zoom, thank you so much as well. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to raise your hands and my guests would answer your questions. Now, and thank you very much. So I want to ask this question. Joe, you said something about, let me go to Ogogo first. Ogogo, you said something here that I wrote down. Oh my gosh, I hope I haven't forgotten it. You said something here. You talked about the initial difficulties. The initial difficulties. You talked about, the job. You were considering a place first and you said no, the job, then housing. But you wanted to go to a place where there was the Nigerian community for you to get strength from. Yeah. So that's very important. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Now, Mr. Joe, there's something that you've said that I need us to hammer on a bit. You said that when you came, the things were different. How so?
Thank you very much. Well, you see, I might go to start from the aspect of, first thing I want to say is, everywhere you relocate to in the world, if you were the managing director of a big company, or you were the master brain behind a company, or you were the most looked for everywhere, they are calling you for contract. Once you relocate, just say bye-bye to those things, first of all. You're professional in your field, in your handcraft. At the time you relocate, it's a go-go. So for me, relocating, and I'm this kind of person, I do a lot of things with my hands. By the way, I didn't mention, I'm a professional photographer.
And guys, I want to interrupt. Joe, looks, if you're in Ireland, watching from Ireland, I beg. I'm not trying to, I'm not marketing Joe's business, but I go to, Joe, your Instagram, Joe Graphic, Abby?
Yes.
The other day I was just looking at your pictures. I just put my hand on my jaw and I say, wow. I'm not trying to market you, but I'm just saying, I was liking, I usually don't do this, but I'm just saying they were lovely because I like pictures. So
you see, for example, when I got to Ireland, I was so confused. I was in a state of confusion. But you see, one thing that kept me going was insight. I was ready to make the most of everything around me. At this point, I'd even forgotten all the talent I had, because I'm like, okay, my lady was here in Ireland. She was in Barbrigan. I was in Clondalkin when I came. So most times I just go say hello. The idea was to just come meet her, to just come meet her and say, oh, let me even see who I want to get married to. So I just came to Ireland, and, I'll go to Barbrigan, come back to Clondalkin when I was cutting with a family member, But in all of this, I was on my own, trying to. But as I started living in Ireland, I started watching my environment. Okay, what is lacking here? What can I do? What is happening? What can I do? Can I go to school? Is it possible to go to school? Because I keep asking people, come, I finished from University of Lagos. I'm in business administration. Can't I get a job? Can't I put my CV? They were like, oh, are you joking? So you have to do several courses to step up yourself before you can even get into all these companies. I was like, wow. So I was really determined, and I said, okay, I need to go to school. That was my first aim. I was like, okay, I want to go to school. I wouldn't mind if it cost me to do anything to raise money at that time to educate myself, because I wanted to be, I wanted to create a standard for my personal self and, for my children and family. So I went to school. After like 5 months. I got to Ireland. I went to school. I did just a small course, and that sets me going. It was a lot, because I had to wake up like 6 a.m. to catch a bus. I had to walk like 15 minutes in the cold, get to school. The school is a 1 hour drive. The school is an hour. I actually schooled in Dublin, so I had to drive, get a bus to Dublin, finish from there, go back 1 hour, walk home, you're tired and everything. So it was a lot. But I went through school, I got a job. And immediately I got a job, things started balancing gradually. I started making plans. I started doing this. I started doing that. I was able to afford, a place for myself. And gradually I did my wedding and the rest of them. You see, but where I'm going to now is, after a while, I discovered that, oh, these things are not enough. And this is it. I've gone to school. I'm working now. I've raised things, but I've discovered that, okay, these things are not enough. I need to expand my territory. And I started thinking back, okay, what were these things I could do in Nigeria then? And okay, I do photography on a very low scale in Nigeria. It's not functional here. You barely see people that do these things. I was like, okay, I need to step this up. I need to bring this to limelight. Okay, I do music. Okay, I could step this up. I could bring it up. So I started looking out for extra source of income. That's when I said, okay, Joseph, calm down. I go to events. They're struggling to look for one guy that will take pictures or cover the event. And the guy might travel 3 hours all the way. So I did that, I started establishing myself. And see, here I am today. It was a lot. It was a lot to handle. It was a lot to manage with. Are you talking of the cold? Are you talking of the weather? Are you talking of everything? But after a period of time, laying my foundation well, that's what I would say. Because a whole lot of people come, relocate, and they fail to lay that foundation. You discover that you had a lot of stress to yourself if you don't lay a proper foundation. So I'd say laying a proper foundation really helped me through the stress of relocating abroad and the bustle and all that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Joe. And I'm going to ask you another question. I'm going to ask Ogogo this question. Ogogo, you're going to, I want your take on it, and I also want Mr. Joe's take on it as well, and also Laura's take. It stems off of what Ogogo said. Ogogo, how is it important for you when you relocate to say, I am here, I'm here. Let me cut off all the connections that I have. Because Joe said something about it as well, in the way that when you relocate, maybe in your country, you're da 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 da. But then you come here and you refuse to let go of your big man. And sometimes you're still looking at yourself and say, I can't do this, I can't do that. So how is it important for you as somebody who's relocated to say, you know what? I am here. And I have to make it happen for myself.
Thank you very much, EB. And Joe, thank you for all those comments. Those were like spot on. I think it's very, very important like to realize, like, you know, I've left Nigeria. Like, you have to accept it. And I've actually seen it like amongst like my group of friends, like those that have accepted from the beginning, like I've relocated, have moved faster, to be honest. One thing about like this other world is that things have a process, and that process is consistent. Is like in Canada, it takes, okay, if you when you move to Canada, if you decide, okay, I want to be at this place at this time, it can actually happen. The chances, not that it will happen, let me not say that, but the chances that that would happen is higher than if you were in Nigeria. So planning really works. Like if you plan to achieve something in Canada or abroad, you will get there. So why I'm actually saying that is the quicker you start that process, the quicker you get there. So if you don't start, if you're still like one leg in Nigeria, I'm going to be, you know, shuffling back, you know, how are you going to get into the process of, you know, becoming settled in Canada? Like Canadians are like, that process is there. Like you have to start from the beginning. You have to start, like, it's like starting a race, you must go. So for me, that was, that, thank God that I kind of like grasped that when I came in. I actually came to Canada and I had a very open mind. It was actually easy for me because I had just finished my master's. I had been in Nigeria. I've always been career driven. I've always been in marketing for like 11 years. I've always been passionate about my job and anything that I do. So doing my master's and coming back to Nigeria and not having anything was like very strange for me. I was like, I just had a baby. I was trying to settle in Nigeria. So I had nothing going on for me. So when I relocated, I was like, finally, now I can start. Now I'm ready. I'm done. I'm past that baby stage of, you know, my baby is now almost 1 year old. Now I'm ready to start my life. So I came to Canada like that, which is why it was, I would say it was easier for me to begin my process. I already accepted. Coincidentally, I moved to Canada and I found I was pregnant again. And for me, I was like, oh, I hope this is not going to be a setback, because I was already ready. Like the fire was already there. I was like, I'm going to look for a marketing job at an agency. You know, I'm going to work it downtown. I'm going, you know, that.
Wow, I love that.
And then I found out I was pregnant. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. Rewind. What are we going to do? So I had an open mind. I actually worked for a couple of months within that early stage of my pregnancy before I gave birth. But I had an open mind, you know, I agree with you, Joe, you know, when you come from being a manager, a director in Nigeria, you will expect, a lot of Nigerians really make this mistake where they expect to just fit in when they relocate. Like, I have to be a director again. Like you have to survey the environment and even understand the job. Like when you actually understand the job, you will know that, oh, I may not be able to do that director role. Actually, even if I was a director in Nigeria, I may not be able to do the director role here where I am. I probably will be a manager, probably will be a supervisor. You will get there. Like I said, the process exists and it's created for you to get there. So you just have to accept and have that open mind and begin. So that was what I did. I came in, I was pregnant. I couldn't, you know, pursue that high-end marketing career that I wanted. But what I started with was sales. I started with sales. The opportunity is something that not many people like. But for me, there was something to gain. And I feel like that sales part that I did was kind of like my own foundation in Canada, because I was going door to door to businesses, to homes, to talk about like some charitable programs. And I work for 2 different companies, and that way I got to interact with the Canadians. Immediately I felt comfortable because, okay, at first I didn't know how to talk to them, but I just felt like there was something to learn here. Like sales, okay, they're going to pay me $15 per hour. It's still money. Thank God that it wasn't even just commission based. But I got to talk to different people. People gave me advices. People spoke about, oh, you're pregnant and you just relocated. They thought it was crazy. They're like, you just relocated, you're pregnant, you're doing door to door. Are you crazy? So, I just was laughing through that process. I was having a good time. I was just building my confidence. Like, okay, these people are not so different like that, And by the time I go through that process and then now started working, it was easy for me to connect. I've already been in the society for some time. Even though I didn't start how I would have liked to, I took advantage of what I could do. And I think really focusing on that, being positive as well is very, very important when you relocate.
Perfect. Now let's talk about the family unit. I read something yesterday on Facebook and it made me laugh. It said that when you relocate, that if you want to relocate abroad as a woman, if you know that you don't like cooking, if you know that you cannot do without a house help, in Nigeria now, if you know that you can't wash, if you know that you cannot stay with your children all day, if you know that you're going to be looking for somebody to leave your children with, if you know that you can't survive without a house help, please consider that. And again, the way our culture is. And that's why I was very interested in when Mr. Joe said things are different. So in Nigeria, the way the culture is, the men don't cook, the women are in the kitchen and all of that. And then you come abroad, everything has changed. Everybody's working. There's no driver, there's no house help, there's no washerman, there's no cook, there's nothing. Okay, you guys married, you're young couple. So you married, you were having most of your married life in your foreign countries, but in a way, does that affect you? What do you think about the roles, our cultural roles? How can we succeed as a family unit abroad? Mr. Joe, I'll ask you that.
Okay, so this is a deep one, like it's a deep one. Let me start from where you brought the comments from, and you were like, okay, if you know you cannot do it, housemaid, you can, where they do. Was it last? Oh, when I met you at the airport, we went to Nigeria.
Yeah, I saw you. That's why I just took. When I saw the way your wife and you were just handling your children, that was what attracted you to me.
Wow.
Yes, I said, my God, you were like. Let me not say what happened, but you were like my family. My children, you were like a bull on fire. I said, I like this guy. I like this guy. And your wife was just there pregnant. I was like, is it this guy? Yes. I like him.
So I just want to start with the experience we met after leaving Nigeria in a long time and going back, to say hello to family and friends. And there's this, there's this very, very wealthy family and friends that we have. And we went back to meet them and we're in the house. And, while the driver is opening the door, the maid is making the food, someone is cleaning the garden, and I'm within myself, I was like, Nigeria, we are enjoying here. And I told myself, I said, come. And this is not just Nigeria. This is same with our home countries. Because anyone can be watching this live. You can be from India, you can be from your own country, from where you migrate to. And I just, within myself, I was like, hey, I had to call my cousin. I was like, Auntie, are you sure you can live abroad? Because this big manism that you guys are doing, you will cut your grass yourself, you will wash your car yourself, Oh my goodness. And she was like, what do I mean? I was like, okay.
They'll get an au pair now or a cook. They'll pay them.
So let me not miss the
Digress.
question. So for me, I married my wife we got married in Ireland.
Yeah.
And I tell you, we have these mindsets. We are Africans. So, and this is to my wife anywhere it took me a long time to actually adjust. Now, there's some things you expect that, okay, your family you have to do. You're to do this, you're to cook when you're supposed to cook. You, the man, you're supposed to, you have your role, it's a sacrifice. And I started to see a lot of things lagging behind. My wife, she's tired. And I'm wondering what's happening. Like, I couldn't just understood these things. I couldn't get it. And you see, we have to be sensitive and careful about these things. Because if you're not careful, these are the things too that break homes.
Exactly.
You would think, okay, it's just the other things. This little thing. Okay, for instance, like me, my environment must be spotless. I don't leave that to my wife. I do it myself. And I will appreciate if I come back the same way. My wife has it the way it is. But
with those boys I saw.
With those, thank you. Can you manage her with those? And you see, and I'm confessing now.
And she was pregnant.
And this took me a long time to understand that, guy, calm down. This is a lot. So, and that's why a big respect to single parents, a big respect to single parents. Sometimes I drive around and imagine, how can a woman manage with children here? So this is a lot, and for a family refusing to stay together, it can cause a lot of things. A lot of things. We're talking of, if you're not careful, depression can start setting in. Emotional stress can start setting in, and lots and lots and lots of this can start setting in. Because I realized, even while with my wife, and I'm this kind of person, I want to know, are you okay? Can I help you with it? Though I'm this kind of person, I want to, is it done right? But still, I don't want to leave you to anything. Like, till now, I change my children Pampers, I do anything. Oh, if she's awake and she's dressing them up in the morning, and maybe I went for a night shift and I'm up, I still want to try to support. Okay, what can I quickly do? But in the midst of all this, I discovered that I was still complaining that, oh, why is this not like this? Why is this? But I've realized, okay, slow down. This place is just you and her. There is no maid, there's nobody. So, to succeed as a family unit is very, 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 is key. If you have the opportunity and you are in that cycle, don't send your wife or don't send your husband out or to travel abroad and while you're in a place. Now, my wife got a call this morning from a cousin that lives in Ireland too. His wife is back in Nigeria. And my wife said to me that, come, each time this brother replies on a message in a group chat, he's always angry. And he's a gentleman. I need to check up on him. So she called him just this morning. She called him and was like, oh, are you okay? I just see that you are hungry unnecessarily. And I told my wife, I said, come, his wife is back home for more than 7 years. And it's just 1 year.
With the children?
Yes, with the children. I said, come, he will be cranky. There are times he would just, and the same, she spoke to him and she was like, he started opening up that he doesn't even know what is wrong with him. He goes to work Monday to Friday and he's just giving out. Unnecessarily, he's just giving out. So for me, I would say if you have the opportunity to be with your spouse, it is important you stay together as a family unit. Leaving one person out can lead to whole lot. So it is very important that that each one of them just have their bags, grow together, grow with the kids, and they will be fine.
Perfect. Now, Ogogo,
Yes,
what
I'm
would
here
you
to
like
help.
to say to add to that?
For sure, Joe, again, spot on. It's very, very important, one, to be here together if you can. I don't support families. A lot of is the trend now. A lot of people, are applying, are relocating because of their children. And so because the children is the forefront, they're like, they don't carry the entire family. So it's like, okay, we're doing this because of our children. So wife can go ahead, ensure that the children is fine, you are settled, while husband stays back in Nigeria, doesn't want to leave their high profile job. I understand it's very hard. It's easier said than done, to be honest, but it really affects a lot. And I don't know, I don't see how things would be okay without the whole family being together. I just, it may seem fine now, but I feel like it will have an effect in the future. It will either have an effect on the wife itself, and as Joe mentioned, depression might come on. Even like there's some people that don't talk, they don't like to talk about how stressed they are. They're just building it in, and it's, affecting their health as well. Also the children, having that like separated home, that has to go back to Nigeria. I don't know. I don't like it. For me, it's very important for both families, like both husband and wife, to come together, be together, struggle together, grow together. Like who can break that bond? Seriously, it's not easy when you come. And as Joe mentioned, you can't be getting upset by, maybe you're eating. Like we in our house, we do whatever is comfortable for each other. If I just I'm guilty of ensuring that my kids have eaten dinner, and then my husband comes like next. But it's an understanding that we have. Like if he wants to eat something, yes, I will make it for him. But it's not like it's a family. We are all working on different schedules, and we're just trying to make it work. And then, having respect for everybody's, level of, how will I put it? Just having respect for, having respect for everyone. Like, I know you're tired, you have done this, you have done that. Like, don't expect more than that. It's not the Nigerian culture. Like that one is in Nigeria. It's not here. We have to all work together as a team, and and work more efficiently, basically operate efficiently in your home. Versus like expecting dinner should be at this time for everybody, but the wife still needs to do everything. She's the driver, she's the home lesson teacher, she's also doing her 9 to 5. It's crazy.
I understand what you're saying, and for me, I just want to put this into perspective. I'm very passionate about this, and I'm going to say this today, that if you're considering, and you said something, Ogogo, you said it's a trend where now we put the children first, and we say our children, we want to relocate because of our children. Last week on EB Speaks, my daughters, 3 of them, had this conversation about the effect of moving them from one country to another. I did it. I had some of my children here, and my eldest daughter had to come from Nigeria, and I moved them back and forth. And sometimes we feel that our children are children, so they don't really feel anything. They feel things. They feel the stress of relocating, of being away from their families. They feel the stress of not being around the support structure of the immediate family that they have back home in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Now, for people who are saying that, I would let my wife be abroad and I will be in Nigeria. Ogogo, you haven't done that, and Tango, you didn't do that. But you said something, and you said that if you do that, it may be okay now, but eventually it's going to strike, and you are absolutely right. You cannot leave your wife abroad or leave your husband abroad and live in your home country and expect both of you to be on the same page. Living in a different country is different. You are faced with different things. So like Joseph said something about everything was different. He was trying to get support. He was trying to understand the terrain. And so most of the time, the men send their wives abroad and they're in Nigeria. They are still living in their comfort zones. They're still with their friends. Nothing has changed about them. The only thing that is different is that their wife and their children are not there. In their minds, they feel, oh, my wife is not here. My children are abroad. They should be okay. But they're not okay. Because now they're fighting different battles. Your wife and you are not on the same plate. She has to face, so she has to do all the housework by herself. Okay. She has to face the system, do the bills, get insurance for the car, pay the rent, do lesson teacher, do school run, do all sorts of things. She's irritated already. So both of you are not only geographically separated, you're separated experientially as well. So like Joseph said, his wife was calling one of their friends and the guy is irritated. Of course, the guy will be irritated. And sometimes you may even say, okay, you and your husband are on the same page. You're always calling, you're always communicating. He comes and he goes and stuff like that, but it's not the same. Mm-hmm. Your husband and you may be good, but what about the children? I was listening to, I don't know, during COVID, there was something that there was an audio that was going around that broke my heart. And it was about a Nigerian man in England. I think he was living in Nigeria. I'm not sure, but from what I understand, it was a situation where his wife and children were overseas and he was sending money. And I think he now finally came to relocate and join them. And I don't know what happened, but there was a telephone conversation and I think it was recorded. And you needed to hear the man's daughter speak to him. The guy couldn't believe. He was like, me. She said, she told him, yeah, all you do is to sit down and do nothing. And you call all your blank, blank, blank people and you keep complaining. Because you see, sometimes when as a father, you're not with your family, you come, if you're working, last, you do like 4 weeks or 3 weeks, you go. The children also adjust themselves to tolerate you for the number of weeks you're going to stay. So they adjust themselves. And mind you, because you're not there, your authority is not there. So they are with your wife, who is also trying to adjust herself and to make ends meet for herself. So that authority figure is not there. And then they're now used to you not being around. So when you now finally, so what I'm trying to say is that you may think it's okay. It's not okay. Mm-hmm. There is nothing as important as you as a family being together. It works for some people because it takes a lot of sacrifice and it takes a lot of resources. But on the long run, I am an advocate for the fact that families should be together. If you have a very high profile job and you cannot leave your job, then do not send your children and your wife, because there are going to be consequences if time is not taken. Then you expect the woman to be the way she used to be. She's changed. She's weathered the winter, weathered the summer, winter, the autumn, winter, weather everything. So it's not easy. For me, I would say it's important that no matter what you do, that you, or even if you're going to be apart, give it a time. Say, okay, let's look at this. Let's give it a time frame to say, we will stay apart for 2 years, 3 years. I will tidy things up and I will come and join you. Or if you have the means, you've got to be coming every 2 months. Otherwise, you will become a stranger. Joseph, are you there? Hello? Laura?
I'm here.
Sorry, I didn't forget about it because I was so passionate about this. So, Laura, what is this whole thing about? What would you advise a single parent that is considering to leave her children first and then relocate?
Sometimes that becomes necessary. Sometimes that does become necessary. You need that downtime to actually have things situated before bringing your kids. So I can understand that. It is a very overwhelming experience, as you can imagine. So yeah, sometimes you do need that, just like couples sometimes need to say, okay, one person go first, this, that. So sometimes it becomes essential, especially if someone's migrating to an environment where they've never been before. If they're, in my case, I had already lived in America, so I understood the terrain. So taking my kids was not a problem. But I can imagine if someone was coming for the first time, you wouldn't want to, you wouldn't want everybody, sort of like that thing they say in airplanes, you have to sort of save yourself before you can save others. Put the mask on yourself first. So yeah, I can understand for a minute just having the kids, not unsettling them. You don't want to bring your kids out of an environment where they're already settled to a place where there's a lot of uncertainty. So yes, I do understand how that can be necessary. Now, there were a few other things that some people said that I wanted to, maybe, I don't know how much time we have to
you can add your.
Okay. First, I wanted to address what Joe said, which I wanted to kind of like reinstate that, which was, he said one thing, he said, lay proper foundation. That's very key for a single parent, and it could be a man or woman. Single parents go, both ways. It could be lay the proper foundation, set the priorities for yourself. Like I said, in terms of single parenting, there is not that much, what should I say? You don't have that much liberty of, talking to your spouse, getting a second opinion. So you're basically on your own. So yeah. I believe that thing he said, which is lay the proper foundation, and which, if you want to say it a different way, you could say, keep your priorities in order. So if you decide, I'm going to relocate, I'm going to come in first, stay 6 months, stay a year, have some work done, have some, have a place that the kids can come to, keep your eye on that goal. So that way, when they now come, the culture shock, the difference, all of that will not be too much for them. So that thing is very key, to lay that proper foundation, keep your priorities straight, take one day at a time. As a single parent migrating into a new country, take one day at a time. Sometimes you don't even have that, again, what I call the leisure of planning. You just take one day at a time, so that you're not, because you're already dealing with a lot. You're dealing with the emotional, you're overwhelmed, you're dealing with separation from your kids, you're dealing with separation from your family. So what I advise is, as you're laying that proper foundation, AKA keeping your priorities straight, so eventually you can go bring in your entire family, take one day at a time. The other thing that I wanted to also focus on was this whole idea of together. Okay. Now, remember, we're still talking about, raising successful families overseas and stuff like that. So right. So that key word together is key, because as you bring in your kids and as your kids are kind of getting adjusted to the system, there may be a tendency to now start maybe succumbing to the pressures. Let me give you an example. I'm not sure how it is in other countries, but in America, for example, it's expected that at 18, your kids are already going out and getting their own apartment, working jobs, all that kind of stuff. All that is fine and great. But again, I believe in that, trying as much as possible for the family unit to stay together. So don't succumb to those pressures, those cultural pressures that may not work for you. So sometimes, because you don't have a spouse, you can afford to have your kid, daughter or son, stay home a little bit longer, to help also stabilize all the other kids. So that whole idea of together, and there's a lot to be said about that. So that's very key. I hate when I see sometimes single parents send off their kids too early, and then everybody's drowning. One kid is acting up, all that kind of stuff. I hate also sometimes when single parents, when you talk about that lay foundation, you come in, you start dating, you start partying, all of that, you lose track of what you really came for. So, there's a lot to be said, but
please say it, love. Say it. That's why we're here, love. That's why I wanted you to be here.
Yeah, so it's a big topic, but I just wanted to zoom in on some other things. So it's just that whole idea of keeping your priorities straight, keeping your family together. You can have, sometimes when your kids, as they grow and they progress and you've gone through all that challenges, sometimes you have younger kids. And as your family unit is together, the older siblings, they can also help you kind of like nurture and pay attention to the younger kids, so that whole idea of being together, I'm big on it, because I see, it may not be, sometimes, like I said, it may not be, for example, if your kid wants to go to college, it may not be everybody sending their kids to Harvard and you want to send your kid, it may not be ideal for you. So kind of like walk at your own pace, do things that best suits your family. Your family unit, the emotional stability of your kids. And sometimes you can get that through other kids. Do you understand? Hey, if you have that strong family structure, in overseas, it's not uncommon to now see everybody now go separate ways. So this kid is living in this town, that kid is living in that town, when you've done all the hard work. And then they don't have that emotional support system again.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot to be said, but
no, Ejeka, feel free to say it, because I think that what you've just said is another very important point where we say that, so we've done all the hard work and then we decide to send the children to different parts of the country to say, oh, this person has moved. For me, I feel that what you're saying is right, because then they lose the emotional connections that they have. And then if time is not taken, they get immersed then in the coldness, or the lack of our African
support structure, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then, that's very key. Because you also have to bear in mind, a lot of people migrating have that thing in their head that at some point they're going to move back to Nigeria. And sometimes it's not our reality. For a lot of us that are migrating, there may be little or no chance in our generation that our kids go back. So your first generation here, we grew up with the whole extended
aunts and uncles, yeah.
So that's why that together, there has to be a deliberate effort by the mother, if it's a single parent, or maybe sometimes even married people, to keep the family together, to make the kids mean a lot to each other. So it's not okay that your sister is performing and you don't go. It's not okay. So you have to kind of put each other first, because not only are we migrating here, we're first generation migrants. We're going to probably leave these kids behind, because sometimes even in reality, when they do go back, they just don't know how to fit in again. So we also have to keep that in mind and make that deliberate attempt to advocate togetherness.
Laura, this is so true. Like, that's why I wanted you to be here, because I knew that you were just going to shake the tables. Yeah, that's true. Because a lot of times we keep saying that, okay, we would like our children to go home and get used to the culture. And sometimes even if you send the children home, the children don't have the same connection that you have back home. And the way you love home may not be the way they love home because they don't have the emotional and social connections in the way that you have it.
Right.
Ogogo, do you have anything to contribute to that regard?
Sorry, I was on mute. Laura like really said it all. Like I even like, okay, so Laura, my kids are way younger, so I learned so much from everything you said, like, looking at when when you have that older kid. But I agree, and I couldn't even like add to it. Like for sure, togetherness is just so important. It's very, very important. So thank you. I'm so sorry, Ibi. Like Laura has said it all.
Yeah, she did. And so Laura, there's something else that you've said, that there's something else that you haven't said that I want to also, I want to hear from you. A lot of times when the mother is single, she does everything for the children, she loses herself. In what way can she, this is how I say it all the time, and regardless of whether you're married or single mother, women or mothers are always lost in the translations of the roles that they play and the duties that they perform, so much so that after a while, they are like normally under the pile. They look after others and then they leave themselves under the pile. So it is very easy for a single mother to leave herself under the pile and get lost in the translations of the roles that she has to play as a mother and interact in her loneliness a lot. So how can she then find herself and grow as her children are growing?
Thank you so much for asking that question. And as you know, IB, as my old-time friend, I'm a straight talker. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me give you the short phrase for that. As a single parent, relocating to a new country or all of that, you have to lose yourself to find yourself. Yes. So you have to be focused on your kids. That's priority. And guess what? That's gonna involve you not shopping, you not maybe wearing makeup for a day or two, you not driving that perfect car, you having to wear one skirt like I did for 5 years, you not having to buy excessively. So it takes a lot of restraint. And I always say this, once you do that, for that period of time that you need to restructure, readjust, get everything situated. Once you do that and everything is, like Joe said, on proper ground, you would have plenty of time to now go back and start buying those clothes, start fixing yourself up, start doing your hair, So yes, you have to, that's the reality. You have to lose yourself to now find yourself. So if you now make, to me, and what I mean is I don't mean you should look haggard or anything. I just mean that you have to scale back so that you're not under a lot of pressure. Single parenting is a dangerous territory, psychologically. I hate to say this, but I've seen some people basically lose their minds. I have a really good friend, and that was because she put too much on herself. She was a single parent. She had limited income. She was buying the latest cars, doing her hair every day, doing her, and then took on more financial burden than she needed to. So so what I recommend, lose yourself for a minute, scale back. It doesn't mean you should look untidy. It doesn't mean, you can scale back. And then once everybody is on solid footing, once everybody is sound and great, you'll be so surprised how quickly, especially in foreign countries, how quickly you can buy those things back. You understand? It takes, in 6 months, you can acquire everything you haven't acquired in 10 years. That's the beauty of living overseas, because you now would have the resources. Okay, so basically, don't stretch yourself too thin. Don't worry about all of those things. Don't worry about who's buying what and what. Stay focused on putting yourself on good foundation. You don't want to, you have a lot you're handling emotional, all of that. So you want to keep yourself focused. So yes, you can afford to not do those things for a while. In my case, I did not do those things. My family even launched an intervention. Oh, you guys, I said, no, I'm staying focused on my goal. And now when people see me buy things, they don't even say anything because they know how hard I work for it. And everything that I did not have in all those years, I have now. So yes, that's what I would recommend. You've got to keep your eye on the price. You've got to keep your priorities straight. You've got to not succumb to the pressure. You've got to take one day at a time. You've got to walk at your own pace.
Fantastic, Njideka. Thank you so much for that. And so, guys, is there anyone who wants to ask some questions? The floor is open. Njideka, I like what you, sorry, I call Njideka. We go way back, right? This thing that you've said, you've talked about just keeping your eye on the ball is so important. And Ogogo, you said something before our pre-interview meeting. You said your husband was in Nigeria for a while. He went back to Nigeria for a while before he now joined you. And what were the things that you learned in that time that can also be like something that you can also say to our single mothers?
Okay. Thank you, Ibi, for that question. I would say, those were kind of like my foundational stages. It wasn't too long. Luckily for me, it was just 3 months. It was a 3-month process where I was by myself. I was pregnant. I had my daughter was just 1, and my husband was back in Nigeria. And, I figured things out. It was very hard. It was also during the winter because we came in January.
Yeah.
So it was very hard. I cried. To be honest, I cried and cried and cried. But honestly, it made me strong. It made me who I am. The bond I have with my kids is unbreakable, unshakable. Like I still remember this, in as much as my daughter was so tiny, I still remember like how we dealt with things when it was just 2 of us. And those were precious memories that no one can ever take away from me. It's just built the person I am today. And I'm very strong. I'm very independent, but that's not what I'm preaching. I'm still preaching that we should be together. But as Laura has mentioned, just stay positive, keep your eyes on the goal. That there's an end time to that stress, that strain that you're going through. It's just for a matter of time and things will get better. And that really puts me through.
Fantastic. Joe, I want to ask you this question, and I was addressing it, and I'm saying that, is it wise for a man to leave his family behind, for a man to stay behind in Nigeria and then send his family abroad?
Thank you. That's a no-no,
Why?
A no-no, because I'm just trying to play a scenario. See, when I saw that topic, I was just like trying to play a scenario. And I know a lot of men are in this situation whereby they say, oh, go abroad while I'm here, go and give birth, go and, oh my God, you're setting that woman, you're making her vulnerable at the end of the day. Because I started to...
No, you're not only making her vulnerable, you're making her angry. You're making her depressed. You're making her cantankerous.
You think you're doing her a favor, but you're pushing her in a lot. Especially for the wife that you send abroad, and you send her with the kids, and when the kids are still little. And you see, I just made you're giving her emotional stress, and we need to look at several areas where emotional stress can set in. Diverse areas. She's pregnant, she gives birth to the child, she's on her own, she's raising the child, she wants to work to assist you, to pay the bills. She goes to work, she sends the child to the minder, to the crèche. She's doing a 12-hour shift. She's thinking, oh, who will drop my child? Who will pick my child? and she's calling a taxi. Okay, can you get my child, take my child to the minder's house, and she's doing all of this on her own, year in, year out, days in, days out, and like that. That's just one of it. And she comes back home, she's drained. She cannot pass the right morals to the child. The child is lost. The mom is away looking for money. The child is on her own. She's becoming something else. And no father figure to actually be there to balance things. It's a lot. So, and you see, this is vice versa, both for the father and for the mother. No one should be. Because which one are we to talk about? Are we to talk about the fact that she has to, manage her environment? Before, right in front of our eyes, our children will grow into something else, and she's not aware of, because she's busy. And you are there in Nigeria, you're there in your home country, you're doing your thing. So it's not advisable for any man to send the wife. If you're sending your wife, ensure that it's just for a period of time. And it should be a short period of time. Because if you're not even careful, you can lose that woman. Because when emotional stress begins to set in, after emotional stress, certainly depression will set in. And before you know it, the woman you'll just cover that you don't even know her no more. A lot of things has happened. A lot of things has changed. The good woman that I used to be with, before you know it, she's vulnerable. Anything cannot happen to her at that time. Now we can
Joe, even if she's not vulnerable, she becomes like a man.
Yes, yeah. So that's another topic. There's a disadvantage part and there's an advantage part. So there's a part you make her so strong. She becomes unbreakable. She becomes rigid.
Yeah, she becomes like a man.
Yes, she can do, because she's used to it. And you see, let's be frank, and no disrespect to single mothers. There's a balance to these things. There's a balance to it. A woman is not fashioned to stretch herself so much. Let's be frank. Let's not even go religion now. Look at the beautiful ladies. How much can you stretch yourself? How much? So that's very important that you stay with her. Because you just can't start building something different. She becomes so solid, So, okay, I'll give this example real quick before I wrap it up. In my community where I actually live in Ireland, there's a lot of single mothers. And within me, I'm saying, okay, can we create a foundation that just, because you don't know what they're thinking. They're just on their own and they're just back there and you wonder what's happening. One of them called me, oh, can you help me? I need to fix a wallpaper. Can you do that? I was like, wallpaper? And within me, I'm like, okay, she's a lady. If she had someone, come on, the person will fix that for her. I don't expect her climbing ladders and...
Well, not necessarily, but okay.
Not necessarily, you get my point. I'm doing a balance now. Like I said, there's a point you make the woman strong and she'll be able to do everything.
Fix the light bulb.
Yes.
Fix the washing machine.
Fix the washing machine. These minor things. I know how it feels. I know the balance. I know the aspect of the single mothers, and I know if you have your spouse with you, the balance, and I know those things. But these little things, let's be factual. Every woman will need help from these things. And see, it's a different ballgame if this woman is in Nigeria. It's okay. She can call a relative. She can call her bookie downstairs. Come and fix this bulb for me, or come and put this for me, or come and do this. But here in Europe, or anywhere you are abroad, it's a lot. You are even stressed. So for me, it's key. Like if you are in that category, or you find yourself with your spouse, or whichever the situation may be, stay there, build together. Don't have her far away, or don't have him far away. So
Mr. Joe, sorry to cut you short. I wanted to say something. Yeah. Whilst you were away, I answered that question. And everything that you said, I touched on. At least both of us mirrored each other in that. And I'm saying that So there's some men that are doing high-paying jobs, and they send their children abroad with their wives. Ogogo said so. It was what Ogogo said that even now triggered me. So I asked her, and she said, Ogogabi, that even if everything is working out now, that eventually there will be cracks.
Yes, it definitely will be.
There will be cracks.
There will be.
So assuming there's a guy in Nigeria who is loaded, that is, he has money coming out his ear, nose, and throat.
And fend for it.
And he works out for it, thank God. Would you advise that he leaves? Now, some people, they have private jet, or they can fly back and forth. But what I'm saying is that unless they just come to school here and then they go back to Nigeria, they spend long back, at least unless you are constantly back and forth, especially in their formative years, do you think it is okay for the families to be apart? Like the man should be in Nigeria and the wife should be here, or vice versa?
Do you mind if I answer that? I know I'm a single parent.
No. What do you mean? You can answer, of course.
Yeah.
I believe that one of the things we have to remember is that it's that whole thing about that key word of together. Okay. Because sometimes overseas is not necessarily suited for everybody. It's not this one size fit all. Maybe for younger couples, maybe it's easier for them, because I know part of the problems I had initially with my spouse was I wanted to live in America. He wanted to live in Nigeria. You know, we were struggling in Nigeria. I saw that we could make progress in America, and he just wasn't cut out for it. You know, so people have different backgrounds, people have different structures. So I believe it's a thing that a couple have to agree. You know, I know in my case, it was, like I said, I wanted to live in America. He wanted to live in Nigeria. I didn't see why we should be living in Nigeria, because we could have done so much living overseas. And he wasn't budging, I wasn't budging. So we separated, but so I think it's this thing about really people working together and understanding each other. Not everybody, even if you're not even working that perfect job, can come and start at a security position here in America, or in anywhere else. So I think it's really a family sort of working together. And I learned the power of this together when I started working together with my kids. It doesn't, it's just because one person thinks that that's the solution to all their problems. How would you feel? I have a friend of mine. She's from Iran. She and her husband came here. Driving Uber. He's in and out of he's taking one depression medication after another. He's having all kinds of psychological problems because he's just not used to it. So so I just wanted to say that it doesn't have to be, everybody has to be sensitive to each other, and everybody has to try to figure out a way to make things work. And then when I heard about you learn some of these things after you've been separated, because, I have friends that they're living with their husbands, and their husbands don't even know how to fix light bulbs. They're the ones, even as married people, they're the ones fixing the light bulbs and fixing the microwave and looking at YouTube to figure out, So it's not this one size fit all. So I just think that we have to be careful how we let people communicate these things to people, because like I said, it could even create that division, when two people don't agree. Even if you don't agree to live in this, you can have a different arrangement where the person is, what's the word, you can have a different arrangement that works for your family. That's all I'm saying. So don't fall into that very stressful. It was such a stress point for me because, like I said, I wanted to be here. I knew how to function here. I went to school here. He came from a background where he had people, houseboys and everybody serving him. And even if he didn't have anything, he was okay with that. So I just want us to be careful how we do this one size fit all, because that's what gives people the wrong impression of life and actually causes stress and all these other things. Okay.
Okay, Laura, I want us to talk more about that, because for me, my view is this. I feel that now I hear what you're saying, that it's not a one size fits all, because I remember, Joe, you were not here at the time in Ireland. A lot of Nigerian men were coming to join their wives, and you saw Nigerian men pushing bogies, and they were always frowning. They were not happy.
Right, because remember, there's this starting from scratch part of relocating. There's this starting from scratch. You leave what you know to go pursue something that you don't, you're not familiar. Right. I had a cousin, her husband was a doctor. She lived here. She basically pressured him to come here. He had practiced medicine for 20 years. He couldn't go start over and start reading the books again. So he ended up being a security guard, and he was miserable.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
so this is what,
Right. So you have to be careful. It just doesn't work for everybody.
So this is what we're saying. This is what we're saying, that we have to think about this. So we have to look at it holistically.
Exactly.
That abroad it's not for everybody.
It's not.
Right. So we have to look at the family. It's easier.
Not be for everybody initially. You have to be sensitive toward that. You have to make that effort sometimes to convince the other person, or to, that's all I'm saying, that you just have to be a little bit understanding, because, it's not that easy for everybody. And that's what I did not know, because I could not see beyond, like, okay, it's a difference between stability, security, money, so sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. It made sense. So guys, now listen, this has been a very wonderful conversation, and I have some of my participants here. Listen, if you want to ask any questions, if you have any comments, this is the time. You can raise up your hands and you can ask any of the speakers, and they would answer your questions. So feel free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Feel free. Let me check if I have any questions on Facebook. Let me see. Joe, is there anything you want to add to what Njideka had said?
Yes, you see, like I said, we need to get the balance. And like she said, the balancing, it's a lot, because it's for a single mother, it's a different ball game. For a couple, it's a different ball game. And each time I like to say anything, I try to put a balance, because these things are sensitive, one, and you must be careful because the way for living abroad, the way a single mother is living her life is totally different from the way a couple is living. She's on her own. She's trying to ensure that she's the covering for her children. She's trying to push on. It's different from where two people are handling the situation. So what we are just saying is, a life as a couple and a life as a single parent is a different ballgame. Then if you are,
but the most important thing is to make sure the family unit is secure.
It's very, very important. And you see, for single mothers too, you see, don't forget, it's a family. Once you have one, you have two. It's a family already. All right. And you are the covering, you're looking after your children, and you want to ensure that everything is fine, everything is going right. Because if we don't follow these same procedures, if you don't follow the same procedures for your children, you discover that, you can't send your young child to America. Your child is still young. You're in America. You can't send that child down to Ireland at some certain age, where the child cannot stand strong on himself. Do you get? So these are the same thing we're talking about. Like you were saying, can the man actually, should the man send his wife and children out? And what we're saying is, come, if you can, you have the money to do these things, fine. But don't forget, you will lose something. If you don't lose them emotionally, you will lose something.
Something has to give.
So
no matter what people say, there is, and I'm a strong advocate of that. I usually don't put out my views like that.
We might try to cover it. In fact, if you've given so much morals, now I'm talking from this perspective of a single mother now. If you have even given much morals to that child, but don't forget, you're exposing to that child to a whole lot. And at the time the child is alone, years to years, back to back, the child is meeting several people, a lot of things will change. And they can either affect the child both positively or negatively. So the same thing, you send your wife, you have the money, you send your wife, you send your children. If you're not careful, you lose those children. You might not lose them that they will go away, but you lose something.
There's something in them that you would lose. Now, yes. Thank you so much for this conversation. I want to thank Laura from the United States of America. I want to thank Ogogo from Canada. And I'd like to thank Jill from the Republic of Ireland. And I want to thank all of my viewers for staying put, my viewers on Zoom. Thank you so much. And I hope that you learned a lot from us today. And next month, I will be talking about the mental health implication of the migrant family. I'm going to talk about, in October, I would have 2 episodes, the mental health of the second generation of migrants, and also the mental health of the African community. It could be anyway, but then I would also talk about the mental health of migrant men, and the mental health of migrant women. All of these conversations come in the future. And I want to thank you once again. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe. It's Ibinabo NAB. And you can follow me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Instagram. And Joe, if anybody is interested in following you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and it's Geographic6. Like, we can travel anywhere in the world to give you a nice photo shoot for your event. Just name it. So there, just check our jobs out on Instagram, Geographic6. That's JOEGRAPHICS and number 6. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. And Joe, can you just quickly put your link on the
okay?
Send me your link. I can put it on the Facebook as well.
Okay.
And Ogogo, you have a I was checking out your Instagram yesterday. It was lovely. So if there's anyone who wants to contact you, how would they contact you? Or even just to see what you do. If the person is in Canada and they want you to handle, if they're in your state and they want you to handle their events, yeah? How would they reach you?
Thank you, Ibi. So you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Rolling with Joy. I mostly share mom tips and how to have fun with your kids. I know all this craziness happens, but in the midst of it, you could find joy. And that's like, I came from a place of searching for joy and have found joy. And that's what I share on my Instagram page.
Fantastic. And Laura, are you there? Laura,
yes,
you do events? You have
sorry about that. I'm interrupting. People can find me on my website that I'm promoting for my dad, which is cyprianequencybooks.com, and they can contact me for any advice on, single parenting overseas. I'll be more than happy to share some of my experiences.
And what about your business? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I just lost it. Yeah, I said, and if there's anyone who is interested in events and want to contact you.
Cubpartyrentals.com.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine. That's perfect. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and join us next month for another exciting episode of EB Speaks. And you can see the recording of this. Oh, sorry. Oops. Somebody has a question now. Feel free.
Ogogo also does events. I don't know why she didn't say that.
Yeah, she said it now.
I mentioned it earlier.
You didn't put the event page. She didn't put the event page.
Okay, sorry. You can also follow me on Kara's Craft. It's named after my daughter. I do kids' party decorations, consulting, ideation, and things like that. So Kara's Craft is my events page, and Rolling with Joy is, my mom blog page.
Perfect. So, and yeah, so just in case you're wondering, I have other episodes of the Jagba series. It's on my YouTube channel, Ibinabo and Nebi, and you can check them out. I have an episode about sending your child to Canada, as well as if you want to relocate to America as well. I have tips there. I had professionals from Canada and from America talk about it. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. And bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Guys, I'm going to call you. Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.